dance because it always takes a second. Man, they got faster. Unbelievable. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. I'm excited to have you today. As you can see, no, this way. I have a guest with me today. I actually don't know. For me, it's here. You tell me on which side it is. I'll do it for both sides. I have a guest with me today, author Chad Nicholas, and he and I are going to talk about his book, One Grimm Night, probably also about his other books. All the links to his website and everything are down in the description. We will probably share them during the live chat as well. So if you already want to go check out who he is and his books, you can already do that. But also for later, it's all there. And as you can see, I had too much coffee. So I'm, it's 4:30, but I already had too much coffee for the day. So this is going to be a fun one.
Coffee.
You can never have not enough coffee. I have tea for the later hours then.
Yeah.
Works.
Yeah, transitions coffee to tea to Dr. Pepper.
I'll skip on the Dr. Pepper one, but yes.
However you get your caffeine.
Yes, exactly. Whatever works. Hey, Chas, I'm glad you could make it. I know you're as excited as we are, so yay. Before I'm going further into my caffeine stupor here, Chad, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Chad Nicholas. I've been writing since about 2019 now. I've got 4 books out. I've got Nightmare, which is a psychological horror novel. My second was Shade, which was a detective thriller. My third was Animal, which was a slasher. And my most recent is One Grimm Night, which is a fairy tale retelling with some horror stuff.
So main genre horror from what it sounds like, but you're branching out into different subgenres, I guess.
Yeah, I really like, so far it's mostly been horror. Through Shade is probably, it has some horror elements, but it was definitely a lot closer to the thriller side of it. And I definitely I'm slowly branching out. I haven't done the same subgenre twice, and I really in the future want to keep doing different genres and eventually go outside of horror and thriller entirely and try out some other stuff like fantasy, but got a lot of ideas that takes a while to get there.
I was like, romance? That would be off.
I don't know about that one. We'll see if an idea comes along.
Once you have like your 20 books and all the other subgenres, then maybe.
Yeah, drop a random one as a surprise.
Look, I can do that too.
And then they'll be like, ooh, what other books does he have? And be like, oh, this is none of it.
I mean, you could horror romance. Why not, right? Like that,
Yeah.
Is that maybe? I don't know. Okay, let's different topic. So
that's
your latest
Warm Bodies was.
I'm sorry, say that again.
That's kind of what Warm Bodies was, the movie.
True. But is it really horror? I mean, yes, zombies, but is it really horror in that? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was counted as a horror, but horror is very much whatever someone defines it as.
True. Fair. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, see, there you go. Works. Horror romance. Okay, we next book we now know. Oh man. But to talk about at least your recent book, One Grimm Night, that's the one that you released just a couple of weeks ago. We're in the middle of December. When? End of October?
Yeah, it was October 21st.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that one.
So One Grimm Night started as a college project. It's the only one of my books that did that. I did engineering in college, but I had one core theater class that I had to take. The funny thing is I tried to get out of it because I was trying to take a different art class because I thought it'd be more interesting. And then they're like, well, you can't do that. So I took that one. And the college project was to write a 10-page screenplay based on one of the One Grimm Night stories. And it was supposed to just be like a straight adaptation, like write 10 pages of Hansel and Gretel or something. And I was like, it's the one time I get to write in college and not do math. So I was like, I want to do something fun. So I kept trying to think of different stuff. And I was like, well, I kind of had the idea of, I liked how many of the fairy tale settings, I always liked that a lot of them had similar stuff like haunted forests, locked in a cabin. I really liked locked door mysteries, and then there were none, Hateful Eight, where it's just a bunch of characters. And I had the idea of, if you took fairy tale characters and you put them in a situation, and instead of being upfront with who they were, obviously from the first chapter, you know that the main character, Red, is Little Red Riding Hood. But aside from her, all of the other characters aren't revealed initially, and so that kind of makes it where the fun is who is which character. And
Mhm.
then from there, I realized I was going to need a lot more than 10 pages to do that. So I started writing a few, not near the outline that I normally do, just more like one word doc with some ideas. And then I just started writing it in the time I had during college, and the screenplay became 120 pages. And then after I sent the professor an email and I was like, hey, you don't have to read this. This is just what I wrote. So here you go. And then after that, I was like, I want to turn this into a novel. So I had to work it in because I had just finished writing Animal, and I was like 3 months from starting the next book that I'd outlined. And so I was like, I got to fit it in the middle of it. So I just real quickly took the screenplay, adapted it to this, and then obviously I spent several years editing it. But I tried to get it done as quick as possible to make it in time so it didn't do the other one.
So then basically the inspiration for the Grimm characters came from the screenplay. It's like from your task in the class that you had to
Yeah.
pick a Grimm fairy tale character. Is this a theme that you like, or was it kind of weird to get into something you were not as familiar with?
I really liked the Brothers Grimm fairy tales. I hadn't read the original versions of most of them prior to this, but obviously, like Little Red Rising Hood, Hansel and Gretel, Rapunzel, some
Yeah.
of those you've seen different versions of it throughout the thing. And I always really like some of the older stories like that, or like the monsters with Frankenstein stuff. They're kind of in the same vibe of like classics, and I like the fairy tale setting. And
Yeah.
I like anything with werewolves and stuff. So I was like, when I did that, I actually got the audiobook for the One Grim Nights, and I listened to it on the way back and forth to school so I could listen to all of them. And I ended up including, there was one, I forget what the actual name was of the Grimm version, but it was about the princess who got turned into a raven. And that was the only one that I wasn't familiar with that I
Okay.
ended up in a very small way incorporating into the book. But then most of the other ones I was familiar with, and I took notes of like, oh, well, this is some stuff I didn't know that they did, and because a lot of them are like more dark than you'd expect, so I took some notes on those and really just used that. And I wanted to do something because you don't want to just do the exact same thing because then people could just read the original. But I also didn't want to do something that was just like just changing stuff for no reason. So I thought the idea of combining them and seeing how they interacted with each other was the most interesting part of like the idea for me. So
Yeah.
that's really what I tried to focus on.
Yeah, and they really had to interact, right? Because your scene is very limited. Like
Yeah.
they're in a cabin essentially the entire time. So you
Yep.
put them in a very limited scene. So they couldn't but not interact, if that is correct English right now. I don't know. But like they were forced to interact essentially. So you had to work through that. What was the writing process for that? Figuring out like the voices of all these individual Grimm characters and then connecting them somehow into the story.
Yeah, well, that was the interesting thing because in the previous books that I wrote, of course, you try to get better with every novel. But on the other ones, I've always been a plot first type of author. I like structuring the story. I like setting up the twists, building the mystery, and that stuff. And obviously, you have to have characters and dialogue and all that too. But that's always been not at the forefront. And with this one, because like you said, it's in one location, and I didn't have as much time, which I ended up editing it and changing some stuff, but like the plot was more, I had the idea for it quicker. And so I thought in this one, it really needed to lean on the strength of the character interactions and the dialogue and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it kind of forced me to get better at that because I was really like it. The con, I was like, every character has to specifically have a very detailed voice. And I think not that I didn't do that in my other novels. I think especially in Animal with the group of kids, I started really trying to get the hang of
Yeah.
how different character types speak. But in this one especially, it was like, especially with the screenplay setting, I want it to be where it's like, whenever someone's speaking, just from what they say, you could tell who it was. In the screenplay, I actually didn't put the character's name a lot of the time, and I
Oh,
didn't
that's
use a lot
funny.
of dialogue tags here. I
Yeah.
took off a lot that my editor wanted because I was just like, no, it's obvious who's talking here. And so I really tried to focus on that. My favorite scene in the whole book, not to do spoilers, my favorite scene is there's a very long dinner scene, and that entire scene is just no one really moves. It's just a conversation. But
Yeah.
I really wanted it to just slowly build up, and the conversation itself is what the plot is.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah, and yeah, you're absolutely right. You didn't use like this person said, this person said. Like it was very obvious who at the table was talking at times. I mean, obviously every now and then you throw it in there, but generally it was very obvious, which is yeah, I didn't even realize that. That is super interesting. Wow. Your writing style in general, that's something that I also found very fascinating about this book. So I didn't know um okay, wait, but sorry, hang on. Dinner scene. Yes, I agree. It is fascinating, right? How with a with a simple scene, I mean, in the book, and I don't want to downplay it or anything, so please don't understand it the wrong way, but it's all like it's a simple scene. It's a cabin in the
Yeah.
woods, you know. There's wind outside and it's scary, like dark and windy and loud, and there are people inside the cabin. It sounds so simplistic, but the way you set it up and the way you put all the characters together, and then about your writing, we talk about that in a second, like it comes to life in such an interesting way. Like for me, it was a page turner. Like this book is for me what the definition of page turner is. I couldn't put it down. I actually read it really, really fast. And yeah, Chess is right. That dinner scene, if you think about it, it was a conversation. Yes, it helped leading up to certain things, and there was actually a lot of stuff happening in that short scene. But it's incredible, like how that worked out. I find.
Yeah, that's one of the things of like I know there's always that quote from Alfred Hitchcock that people use a lot where it's like, I say the word lack a lot. I'm realizing that now. The quote from Alfred Hitchcock where he says, if you don't show people the bomb and you just if there's two people talking at a table and there's a bomb underneath it that goes off, people will be scared for a moment. But if you show the audience the bomb, it doesn't even have to go off and they'll be nervous the entire conversation. And that was one of the things where specifically for the dinner scene, the whole, if you remove the context of the book, it just seems like the nicest conversation between a couple of people who are trapped in a storm. But
Yeah.
with the context of what's came before and the vibe that you're getting for where the book's going to go, it's
Yeah.
like that last moment of something is going to break, but we don't know what or how yet.
Yeah.
So,
When is it going to explode? Who is going to explode?
yeah.
What's
And,
happening? Yeah.
and it's one of those things where we're writing it because especially there was one character in the scene, not to do spoilers, but they were really fun to write in that scene because they knew everything that was going on. And so everyone else was at least a little bit confused, but that one character knew everything and was just lying through their teeth and messing with the rest of them just for the sake of it. And that was really fun to like, I was writing their dialogue and being like, you know, this isn't true. What are you even doing?
Yeah, that also as a reader becomes obvious as rather late in the book. Sorry, I talked a lot of German today, so my German comes through every now and then. See, we're good. We're a good pair today. um yeah, so that is also something through the general storytelling of the book, right? Nothing is revealed like at face value or anything. Everything is just you're just following along. You're following that scene and you're an observer uh of the story essentially. You're just like the characters, some of the characters. You're just sitting there and like, okay, let's see what happens next.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire book. So yeah, you don't realize that what you were saying with the one character knowing everything, you as the observer don't know that
Yeah.
till a lot later in the book, which is also very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always really liked books and movies and stuff that like let the audience kind of figure stuff out themselves, at least to an extent. You know, every mystery eventually needs it to be explained, or at least sometimes they don't explain anything, but I don't like it when that happens. But you like, at least for the beginning, I think the build up and letting people try to discover it themselves is the funnest part of a
Yeah.
mystery. And so for stuff like this, you really want to just like early on, you see a pair of boots in the corner, but you don't know whose they could be yet. And it's up to the audience to try to figure out how that's going to play in because
Yeah.
you're clearly saying it for a reason, but then not aside from and even to an extent, Red isn't really honest about why she's there. And most of the other people are either not giving anything away or just lying through their teeth. So it's that
Yeah.
sense of you're not everyone seems okay, but you know something, you know they can't all be okay, or this isn't a book.
Yes, that would be pretty boring otherwise. Yeah, there has to be something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I teased a little bit. I wanted to talk about the writing because that was one of the things that I also found very fascinating about your book is when I started reading it, like I'd like to go into things blind, and I did that with your book too. So I didn't really know what to expect other than okay, something Grimm fairy tales, obviously based on the title. And I knew like horror somehow. That's all I knew when I was walking into it. So when I started reading it, I was, how do I describe this? I usually when I read, I'm not someone who sees everything, right? There are people who can visualize very well and people who are not that good with that. I'm someone who's kind of in the middle, like I can see parts but not details. And your writing, like the way you set the scene, the way you describe the storm, the way you describe the situation that cabin is in, like how Red is running towards the cabin at the very beginning, it was incredibly visual and like to an extent of even being poetic, but not like overly annoying poetic,
Yeah.
you know? So what made you go into that direction? Is that typical for your books? Like, is your writing style in general like this with the other books as well? Is this just your style, or was it something new you were doing?
It's a little bit of what I've done before, but I did feel it changing for this one. I think overall, and Nightmare was my first book. I hadn't written a book before. You know, I wrote a draft of it before that I then started from scratch. But I could tell in Nightmare I was still kind of finding how I like to write and writing style and everything. I felt especially by Animal after Shade and then Animal, I felt pretty comfortable with the style that I'd found. But for this one, the difference was because, well, first off, the original draft was the screenplay, and the screenplay I pretty much didn't describe anything because in a screenplay you're not supposed to, as you know, you just open with setting outside cabin. That's all you put. I At the end of the screenplay I started cheating and just was kind of writing it like a novel. But at the beginning I didn't. So when I was writing it, when I was transferring it from screenplay to novel, I had everything but the visuals. Because typically for me, my habit that I write last is descriptions. So I have to remind myself that I need to say what this place looks like because I'm focused on the plot and what's going on.
Yeah.
This kind of forced me to, that was the one thing that was missing. So I had to do that. And to another extent, when I wrote the screenplay, the screenplay had a narrator to it. So a lot of the narration is where some of that more poetic type of language came from because I was kind of mimicking what the narrator would have been doing.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
and for this one is because the other books, a slasher is more, the slasher doesn't require as much prose and as much like descriptions and stuff because it's more supposed to be fast and more kinetic. This one, because it's based on the Grimm fairy tales, I really wanted it to feel closer to like a classic novel. Obviously, nowhere near the writing style of like the actual old fairy tales or like the, because if sometimes you'll read the old books and like really good writing, but you can also tell that it's from a different age. I wanted this to be something where it was clear that it was in that style, but still like with the modern way of writing stuff.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think especially this book, because I felt comfortable with my writing style after Animal, but I think especially with this book, it helped me really solidify because I leaned farther into dialogue and farther into descriptions. And so for the projects that I wrote after it that I haven't released yet, I could tell it kind of blended together with what I did in Animal. And I think I've kind of found where I am. So this was really helpful in doing that.
That is awesome. Yeah, and I agree. Like I definitely got that fairy tale vibe from the writing as well, and I'm glad you didn't went with the old style because if you read the original, I mean, obviously translated into English, like, but in German it's the same weird stuff. If you read the original ones, they are actually kind of convoluted and complicated to read for it being, I mean, they're dark anyway. I don't know if it's children's tales really anyway, but
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I think it fits that story very well. So
yeah, my rule for writing style is always make it as complicated and as fancy as you want to, so long as it doesn't make it harder to read. Because like you'll read some books and you'll read a paragraph and you're like, what did this say? And you'll just reread it 3 times trying to figure out what they were talking about. And it's always like, I don't mind a page of random descriptions if I understand what it's describing. So I just keep it simple enough that it's not hard to follow.
Yeah, don't require a dictionary, please, so I don't have to look up every second word. Yes, that would be great. For the characters in the story, obviously I don't want to spoil anything, right, for people who want to read it. But you picked what, 5, 6 different Grimm characters? I'm thinking right now.
Uh,
Huh?
I've used many different numbers for the synopsis and stuff because some of it has.
I'm getting together 6 immediately.
I
Then,
think
oh yeah, we talked about one that I didn't catch, so 7
I think
probably then.
there's 8 in total.
See, there's another one that I didn't catch
Technically
then.
9 if you count the Raven, who isn't in it
Okay.
much, but is technically a reference to a fairy tale.
Okay, so then after we're done here, we'll compare notes. I want to see which one I missed here. So, but what was your choice for these characters? Did you pick them on purpose? Was that more a choice of, oh, this fits in the story right now, or how did you go about that?
Well, the 2 that I picked, the one is a spoiler. I picked 2 immediately because they were the 2 that made the story work. The one was Little Red Riding Hood, the forest, haunted forest cabin, all that fit in really well with her. And then the other one, which the thing with this book, some of it, if you know the fairy tales, you can kind of tell where stuff is going more quickly, but I still don't want to just say, but the one is more obvious than the
It's
other.
hard to talk about without spoilers. Yeah.
It is, but the second fairy tale was one that it fit really well with that. And so I had those 2 together. And then I was like, but I want to do other ones. So I started seeing which other ones would fit in really well. And like one that's not a massive spoiler, because it's one where the reveal of who it is doesn't really affect how they are in the story. I read the story of Rapunzel, the original one. I saw some details with the prince and the curse on the prince and stuff that I didn't necessarily know from like Tangled and the other adaptions.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that fits in really well. So then I wrote that down. And then I took 1 or 2 that I was familiar with and pretty much just built which ones can I do. And there were other ones I considered, but when I got this group, I was like, I think this has enough people to have all the different archetypes and still not have too many people in this cabin, but enough that it still feels overcrowded.
Yeah, it gets crowded in there at one point. Yeah. And you have to say too, the cabin has rooms, right? It's not just the dinner room where everybody sits, like it has individual rooms. So it's so funny because it actually feels a little bit like a theater scene sometimes because they walk into the other room and then you follow them into the other room, but then you go back into the main room and then you follow them back into the other room. It's kind of funny how the movement works between the rooms and the people and in the cabin. Yeah,
that was funny, right? Because I didn't outline what the cabin looked like before I started writing. So I just was like, oh, it was a cabin with a room. And then I was like, well, those people are in this room. So I now need another room. So I guess this is a 2-room cabin. And then when I ended up doing it, my editor, there was one note she had about where something was located. And I realized it contradicted a previous change I had made. So then I had to go in and draw a thing of like, okay, where are these rooms? Where's this door? Where's this door? Okay, just to make sure nothing was contradicting itself.
yeah. And then you actually drew everything, right? Like if for those of you who haven't seen the book yet, you have art in the book. Like every chapter has a chapter header art, and then there's like page-sized art in the book as well. I mean the cover art too, to a certain extent. Like you actually like you drawing the cabin, then ended up in the book at one point.
Yeah, the most of the artwork that's in the actual book is drawn by Miblart. It's drawn based on sketches I did.
Yeah.
You can see at the back, I include the concept art of like what I want to do. So the actual professional artwork here is all Miblart.
Yeah.
I wish I could have drawn the actual sketches, but yeah, I drew it. I was like, these are all the bases. I was like, and then, basically just draw this, but way better. But I really like I grew up reading the Great Illustrated Classics in school. Loved checking those out of the library. Went through every single one the library had. Jekyll and Hyde scared the crap out of me when I was young. But I said they had artwork on every page, and that's one of the things I liked about it. When they had big text picture on every page, so it helped to read them fast. And I was like, this is an opportunity to kind of, because previously I've had artwork at the chapters, and I've used it where it's a different piece of artwork for the different point of view character. But in this one, the point of view shifts so much, it didn't really work. So I was like, well, this is an opportunity to have the story told through the chapter headings. So for instance, the first chapter heading is Red running through the forest. The second is her in the cabin. And then as the story goes, the heading is matching who's in the cabin, who's left. And that was took a lot of work on Miblart's part to get all that done. But
it has a little bit of a what are they called? These shadow shadow art pieces, like
Yeah,
shadow boxes. That's what it's
yeah,
called. We have these boxes. Like it has a bit of that flair to
yeah,
it, which again fits a fairy tale theme really well.
yeah. Yeah, I've always really liked like you said, shadow box art or like silhouettes or just shadows and stuff.
Yeah,
So I've always like tried to focus on that. This is also it was like the little details. Like in the previous, I'm usually not a fan of the chapter starting with one big letter. I don't know why. I've just never really done that. But I
yeah,
know all the old books do. So I told them I was like, do it in this one. I think they did automatically, and I just didn't tell them to change. But because usually I'll be like, no, switch it back. But like that's one of the things where in this one it worked for the setting. So I was like,
yeah,
well, keep it because it matches the tone. Because
yeah.
I mean, people say don't judge the book by the cover, but everyone does. And if the art and the pages and everything match, then it helps the experience.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, everybody has their own design style. Of course, we judge
Yeah.
books by their cover. Like, I'm sorry to tell anyone, but yes.
Authors do too.
Yeah. Yeah. The one challenge you had a little bit with the art though is that make the ebook pretty big, right? That was when you send it over, it was like a pretty big file.
Yeah, the files were, and that was the file I sent over was even a compressed version
Yeah.
multiple times. To get it compressed down, it went through so many compressions. The artwork was like terrible. And I kept doing, I eventually found a better way, and then I got Miblart to help out with some of it. I eventually got it where it was compressed because I know the ebook from Amazon is fine because Amazon can upload stuff and they know how to do it. But sending it over email, because email it has to be like 25 megabytes or something.
Yeah.
So getting it there because it started out at like was it like 500? It may have been more than that. It could have been 2,000. I can't remember, but it was absurd. So I had to get that down. But that's why everyone I emailed an ebook copy to, I was just like, please don't judge the artwork. It's more clear than the actual version.
Fair, yeah. I ended up then because you also have it on Kindle Unlimited, right? I ended up
Yeah.
getting it then from there, so that helped a little bit as well. But yeah, that art is incredible and adds so much to the book. Like it's a multimedia experience, really, right? Like now
Yeah.
you just need a soundtrack somehow to that. So if you
Yeah.
have a physical book, like have the music playing out of the book or something, I don't know.
I've literally thought about ways to do that before and been like, how can I incorporate music in this without building a circuit board into the spine?
Yeah, I mean, I guess others have dealt with like Spotify playlists and whatnot, right? That you listen to
Yeah.
that way. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it feels like a multimedia experience because just the writing itself, like the way the story is written, feels different than your typical whatever fantasy book or horror book. Like just the experience reading it is already so different. And then adding the art pieces into it, it just brings it so much more to life. It's fascinating really to have had that experience reading this book. Kinda, I don't know if it makes sense, but it does in my head.
Well, that's good because I mean that's what I want to do with the artwork and everything. I want it to be as cool of an experience as it can be.
Yeah.
And the more you add aside from just writing, it never hurts.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. Awesome. So, okay, now we talked about One Grimm Night a lot. You already mentioned you wrote 3 other books before. So how does it fit in the timeline? Because you said you wrote this as a screenplay in college. So did you write One Grimm Night actually first as a screenplay and then came back later to it? Or what's the timeline?
The timeline of all my books, I wrote Nightmare. Nightmare was my first novel. I wrote what became the novel the summer before I started college.
Gotcha.
And then first summer of college, I wrote Shade. Second summer of college, I wrote The Animal. That October is when I got assigned the project. So I wrote the screenplay in October and like the first 2 weeks of November.
Gotcha.
And then that next spring from like February, March, I think I did February and then spring break. I just was like, screw it. So I then finished the rest of it because I wasn't liking having to do it in the hours before I went to class.
Yeah.
I then took the week and did it then. So it was my latest book that I've done. I wrote the screenplay a few months after Animal and the actual novel about probably 7 months. And then that was back in like 2022, 2023, because it took me an extra year to publish Animal than I thought.
Yeah.
And then this one took a little longer to edit and get ready. And then the projects that I haven't released are a lot more involved. So I've been working on them and I didn't want to do this one too early and then have a massive span before another book. So I kind of was like, well, I'll wait an extra year, do this one, and then probably within a year or two, I can get the next one out.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And since you're indie published, right? Like you do everything too. Like everything is on your shoulders. Like the cover design, the editing, the publishing itself, getting the ISBN and whatnot, all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, after the second book, I realized how expensive those ISBN numbers were going to be. So I bought like a bundle of like 100 of them. And I was like, I'll just have this for the next 20 years. But because you got to have one for every different format. And then I also have been saving extras for like if I do extra editions or anything. So I end up using like 6 per book. So then they add up. And then yeah, you got to find ed.
Yep.
It's a lot easier now. The first Nightmare was difficult because I had to find editors and cover artists and everything. Now I just use the same editor and the same cover artist, so I just send them an email like, "Hey, when are you free to work on this?"
Yeah, fair. That's true. That makes it a lot easier. If you know you have people you can trust and you know their work is fantastic, like why change it? Yeah. Yeah. So when you say special editions then, so will there be like a special edition for One Grimm Night eventually at one point?
I eventually want to release some special editions for the book. My goal is I'd like to do like a director's commentary equivalent, but for like a book. So I can include cliff notes in it of just like some of the stuff I thought while I was writing. And I figured I would do a slightly alternate cover. I've been saving because I get the hardcover, the underneath has the alternate color, and all the books do that. So I've been saving. I get files of this cover, so I've been saving the reverse cover of all of them to use as the special edition cover. I just haven't. I've been working on the other project, so I haven't had time to go back and tweak those. But I figure I'll eventually, maybe for like a 5-year anniversary, which that would be now for Nightmare. So it's maybe 10-year anniversary for the books, maybe put out a special
7.5-year anniversary. I don't know. Is that a thing? I don't know. Oh, but I thank you for showing the hardcover because that's always tricky when you see that because I don't think you have it on your website quite yet, right? You can only order it on Amazon right this second.
Oh yeah, I haven't. I need to add those. I haven't added them to my website yet. I forget to update my website so often. I forget it exists. And I'm like, oh crap, I need to go add stuff there.
Don't worry, I didn't want to point out anything. I was just more like on Amazon, you never see like, is the hardcover, is this just like a random, basic cover with a dust jacket, or is the cover also printed? So it's good to know that the cover is also has the art on it. Because that adds something extra to the hardcover.
Yeah.
And
I wish I could put that picture on Amazon that has like both beside each other, but I can't. I need to look into if there's a way to do that because the cover just uploads directly from Ingram Spark.
Yeah.
But it's enough of a hassle getting it up on Amazon through Ingram Spark and connected to the other ones that I don't tweak it that much once it's there.
Fair. Well, that's what you then have the website to, right? So once you have it on the website, then you can show both pictures and then we can order it directly from you and don't have to give Amazon half of your or more probably of the revenue. So
yeah, the bookstore percentage that Amazon and to be fair, all bookstores do it. The percentage of sale is always sad to see.
Yeah, well,
the percentages keep going up in what's required. So I had to change the price of Animal from $28 to $32 for a hardcover to just still be making $4 a book. And it's like, this is so sad.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens, right? I don't know if it is much different in trade though, because they have the same prices at the end of the day, right? It shouldn't matter. You just don't get a price per book, then you get different type of royalties, and it's different in the, it's a different pain in the rear, to use Chez's words.
That's because I think traditional you get a payment up front and then a smaller percentage of the royalties. So it all has its
pros and cons.
Downs.
Yeah. So, but since you're indie, like what kind of what are the things that you like about being an indie author and being, responsible for yourself for everything? Is generally the way you want it to go, or is this something that you now enjoy, or are you looking to get trade published?
I've enjoyed it more, especially as the Nightmare was very much a learning process. And the one thing you learn quickly, Google is just, not to diss Google specifically, but like searching stuff is not really accurate because I looked up a lot of stuff that said how to publish things, and a lot of that was just incorrect, and I learned that later. Now that I've done it several times, I have author friends. know people, I can just ask them a question, or I've worked with Amazon enough to know how to upload things. So that's gotten easier. As far as indie versus traditional, I won't lie, I have looked into getting some traditional publishing deals. One or two of the projects I have that I haven't released, I kind of been shopping around just to see if I can get any interest with an agent or not. So far, no luck, but you never know. But it's the one thing that I like from indie, and that's the traditional is just I'm curious and I would like to try it and see. The thing I like about indie is definitely the amount of control. It is a hassle to like contact cover artists, contact formatters, contact editors. But the one thing I like is that I can decide exactly what the cover is going to look like. I can decide exactly what the inside art's going to look like. Yeah. I can work with the editor, take the advice that I like. I don't have to change anything. And like, I have the final say of the projects that I'm doing and working on. Cause I'm very specific in like the stuff that I like and the stuff that I want to do. I feel really bad for Miblart who does the covers, because I'll send their like website will say like, it's okay if you don't know what you want the cover to look like, we can come up with something. And I'll send them like a 30-page Word document that's just like every detail of the cover mapped out with like example images. I'm just like, I just know they open this like crap.
I don't know. I've worked with designers, not book cover designers, but other types of designers before, and they actually appreciate that more than you think, because it is tough if someone tells you like, oh, I kind of need a book cover. It's a thriller. What am I supposed to do with this as a designer? Like, where do you want a person on the cover? Like, which colors do you want? What font type? Like, come on. So I think your long document is probably a lot more helpful than you think.
The last time I wrote a note for one of them, I guess it was one Grimm Night, I sit down to write it, and at the end it was like, it had been 3 hours. I was like, it took me 3 hours to write that? Like, why? And then I looked at the word count, it was like 8,000 words. I was like, oh my goodness.
You wrote a book?
I was like, this is like 2 chapters.
Which request? The one with, I want to write a thriller, go with it? Or the one with 30 pages on how I want my interior to look like? Edward. Which version? But yeah, I think, it's always with communication. I think if you have something in your head and you're able to describe it and get it somehow into words as to this is what I kind of want it to be, and this is what I feel this should be, Yeah.
And that's why I try to do example sketches, because like I'm like, I can't draw amazing, but I can draw just good enough to explain like the layout of what it is.
Yeah.
Also, I was just like I did, see if I can find it quick enough to not waste time. I did a sketch of the back cover. The trees took me for like forever, and they're literally just lines. But I just sent this as like, basically do this, but like way better. So then they did this, but like it helps just to get the like, in words. I read what I wrote. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, I have to draw this for it to. Because I was just like, from above, you see a werewolf in a bunch of trees, and it's like, that doesn't explain what this is.
Yeah, you could go in a lot of direction with that. That is very true. Yeah. All right. Give us a quick pitch of your other books as well. I know you gave us the subgenres, but do you want to give us like a quick pitch of your other books, just so we know what your entire work is?
Yeah, I don't have them with me. I should have, but Nightmare is a psychological horror novel. So it was my first novel, and it's smaller in scale than One Grimm Night was. I mean, One Grimm Night was one location, but as far as Nightmare is a close-knit family, and it doesn't have that many extra characters, and it pretty much follows a father named Scott who gets into an accident. And then after the accident, some creepy things start happening. A scarecrow starts appearing in places it shouldn't be. Crows are following him, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And once his family members start getting killed, he's really trying to figure out, am I going insane? Is this something happening with my mind, or is supernatural stuff actually occurring? And then it really goes down a rabbit hole from there and unravels stuff about his past.
Is it like a Hitchcock Birds inspired, or?
I actually have never seen The Birds. I keep meaning to, because I've wrote crows. Every book that I've wrote so far, including the ones I haven't released, either has crows or wolves. Yeah. Many of them both.
Or both.
But I've seen a lot of people mention the Birds connection, and I've seen clips from The Birds. It's very much there's a lot of crows, and they play a big factor in the book. And they tie into the mystery and like psychology of it, and I think that's really where I started really liking writing crows, which is why I just keep including, like in this one I put a raven because I was like, oh, that's as closest to a crow as I can get.
Yeah.
And then so then Shade, my second novel, it was a detective thriller. I actually had the idea for Shade. It was my first book idea. I wrote Nightmare first because I knew Nightmare was going to be easier, because Shade is two timelines. The past timeline is two detectives trying to catch a serial killer called the Surgeon, who's killing women and they get younger every time. The present timeline is after the case. Something went wrong, and now one of the FBI agents is trying to protect a new victim from his partner, and you have to figure out, why did that break up? What exactly happened? And it's got that big mystery to it. And because the chapters alternate past and present, I knew that was going to be more complicated. So I was like, I want experience writing first.
Yeah.
So that it's action heavy. It's got the present chapters are more action thriller. The past chapters are more detective novel. But it was really fun to play with the different characterizations, and it deals a lot with mental health and suicide and stuff like that. And then my third novel, Shade, is a slasher. I really like Halloween, Scream. I've always liked the slasher movies. And so it was kind of, I wanted to do a old versus new type of slasher thing. So it takes place in a small town. 25 years ago, something attacked the town, killed a lot of people, only left one survivor, and they never figured out if it was an animal, if it was a werewolf, if it was someone in a mask, or what exactly it was. And now something is killing people again. So they're now trying to figure out, is it the original animal that's come back? Is it someone new just trying to recreate the legacy? Or what exactly is going on? So it has a big mystery element of who's doing this. Is it a man, a werewolf, all that stuff? And it was really fun to write, and it eventually plays with the dynamic of like the older classic monster villains versus like the new age serial killer slasher type of stuff. So it had some of that element going back and forth, which was really fun.
Is that then also similar to what you did with One Grimm Night, where your writing style kind of goes into the, Grimm fairy tale type, very visual storytelling way, like the prose matches that? Is that in the slasher one the same, that you're trying to match then the voice of these slasher movies too?
Yeah, to an extent. You don't want to change it too much, but I know like for the slasher one especially, like it's weird to describe, like especially with the less the writing style but more the way scenes were constructed. Like it opens with an elongated horror scene, it ends on a certain note. It's making sure it hits those beats of this is what you expect from a slasher. And it has the descriptions, but not as much as One Grimm Night, because in a slasher, more quick, more brutal, more that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it is, and I enjoy it because it's fun to change. Because I really don't want to just like write the same book 40 times. A lot of my books have a lot of similar elements, but I like playing with genre and changing it up because I wrote a slasher and it's really fun, and now I get to write a fairy tale, and now I get to write a detective book, and just keep jumping around.
Yeah. Okay, so for someone who is a complete scaredy cat when it comes to horror movies, which book do you think should I read next after reading? Because One Grimm Night had dark moments and it had like chilling scenes, like again, this whole vibe of the Kevin in the dark woods with the wind and the storm outside. Like I could not read it, dark and alone at night, like I had my light on, but I survived. So knowing this, which book would you recommend I should read next then?
Well, that's the interesting thing, because like to me, I don't consider any of them super scary, and I know like people have said they are, and I'm like, they're intended to be, but not in the like, again, saying like again, not in the overly like horror way. I like more the vibe and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think Animal and Nightmare definitely lean more into horror. Shade is interesting because Shade isn't a horror novel, it's more of a thriller. It's a case like the movie Seven, because a lot of people say Seven is a horror movie. I just think it's a detective thriller. But it's that case of if crime scenes and like serial killers don't bother you, you'll be fine with everything in Shade, aside from a few specific sequences. But then, but then Animal's more. I mean, Animal's a slasher, but it's not. It doesn't lean super. It's weird because, like, for me, I don't consider it scary, but I made it up. So
yeah, fair. It's hard to say then. Yeah. So to give you an idea, Seven It was not so when I say horror, it's I don't like jump scare. Anything that has jump scare or ghosts, I'm out. Like
Yeah,
that's nope, thank you. No, I can't.
yeah,
Um in book form. In movie form, I can't. 7 was horrible for me already because the whole vibe, like with the music and the vibe and that suspension, I was like, nah,
yeah,
something's going to jump out somewhere in the next second. It never does. I know that, but my goodness, I'm a horrible scary kid.
yeah.
Edward obviously is not, so well then go read the books.
We got him.
Awesome. Uh what you talked a little bit about future plans. Can you share a little bit more already what your future plans are, or is it all still locked and hidden and no?
I can share a little
It
bit.
doesn't fit, but it fits. What's in the future box?
Yeah. What's in the box? Yeah, it's one of the best movie quotes to just say. But I can share a little bit. I know at the end of so at the end of Animal, I had like a message from the author section. I teased that I was gonna be working on a detective story. And then in the One Grimm Night ended up coming up right after it. So it was what was released first. But at the end of One Grimm Night and the message from the author, I did give the title of my next book. So the next book that I'm going to write is going to be called Copycat. It is a detective story. The Shade was part detective, part action thriller. Copycat will be exclusively detective. It is very much like a classic detective novel going through the stuff. I won't give too much away for it. The release date, I have the draft done, but I can't explain it without giving stuff away. But because of
Totally fine.
because of the scale of the story, it is taking a lot longer to finalize than all of the other projects that I've done by a pretty big margin. So I'm trying to get all of that done, but it's definitely, of all the things I've written, it was the idea that I was most excited to write, and I really enjoyed writing it. So I'm really excited to release it and have it come out and see everyone's reactions to it. I'm just trying to get it finalized, but yeah,
Awesome.
it'll be a detective story called Copycat.
All right. Well, so that definitely gives us all enough time to read your backlog,
Yep.
all good. Nothing is worse than when, people publish and publish and publish, like Adrian Tchaikovsky, who is publishing like 4 books next year, and you still
Yeah.
haven't even close to caught up to
Yeah.
his work. So all good. Give people time. to
Yeah,
read.
at least like a year or two between them. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to give as much time as George R. R. Martin has, but
No, especially not when it's a series. Standalones,
yeah.
sure. But if it's a series that kind of ends on a cliffhanger, now I wanted to say cliff cat because of I don't know. The cat got stuck. Yeah, see, same thing, Shauna McGuire. So if it's a series, I'm fine with fast. You
Yeah.
don't have to wait a whole year, but with standalones, yes, give us time to.
Yeah. And then you got Brandon Sanderson.
Thank
Who's
you,
got
every
at least
reader in the
four
world.
books
Yeah,
a year,
Brandon Sanderson
4 books
is
a
the
year, and
worst.
it's like, my goodness.
I don't even know how he does that. He
Yeah.
definitely doesn't read anymore, I don't think. He just writes.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I usually don't read while I'm writing. If I'm working on a writing project, because I like to, I'll probably have to change this eventually, but at the moment I like to, the days that I write all day. The days that I don't write, I don't do like an hour or two burst. So usually if I'm in the middle of a book, I'll read comics and I'll watch movies, but I don't read books just because mostly I've been staring at words all day, so I don't want to take a break by staring at more words. And
Fair.
also just to keep it from not that you would adapt the style, but just to kind of separate. So like while I'm writing my book, it's the only style that I'm reading to just kind of help with that, which is why I read a lot of comics, because if I'm writing, they're different enough that it's easy to like slip
Yeah.
back and forth between.
Yeah. Well, talking about that, do you have anything where you were this year's like, oh, this was fantastic. I highly recommend it.
I really liked Absolute Batman, which just came out.
Gotcha. Okay. Comic then.
Yeah. I don't think I've actually read a novel this year. I don't think I have, which it's December. Mercy. Well, I've been on a writing project all year, so that's why I haven't.
That's what it sounded like. Yeah, I mean, you just released a book, you're in the middle of writing something, you're kind of working on something else, or yes, that's what it sounded like. So from your just process perspective, so you're not writing every day then? You have like certain days in the week that you write and then you have a day
Yeah,
break?
yeah. I'll eventually probably switch to certain amount of hours per day. At the moment, it's if I write, start in the morning, end at night, and I try to aim for an entire chapter, which for like Animal and One Grim Night was really easy. The projects I'm doing now, the chapters have gotten way longer. So some days that's pretty difficult, even with the
Yeah.
whole day. But I like the bookends, or at the very least, I'll like end on a scene and finish the chapter over 2 days if it's like 40 pages or something. But I try to, because I like writing in bursts, I like getting into it and then just doing a big chunk of it. So it just works with with kind of the style that I like to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're kind of in the scene and you're imagining everything, right? You're not being pulled out at random
Yeah.
situations. Yeah, I get it. That's probably a question for you.
I've read the first one. I read volume 1. I really liked it. I thought the characterization of Batman was a little strange. I thought they were trying to use him to say some stuff that I thought, based on the Burton movies, didn't make sense. But I really liked the art style, and I thought the trying to remember if the I don't think he was Robin in the first book, but the guy that they were clearly building up to be Robin, I thought was a really cool concept, and I really liked the Harvey Dent stuff with I'm blanking on the actor's name.
Don't ask me. I fall asleep when I watch Batman.
It was the one who was Harvey Dent in the first Tim Burton movie, and then they recast him to Tommy Lee Jones. I don't know why I can't think of his name, but I really liked what they did with him and Two-Face. And I like Blueface Two-Face. But yeah, I haven't read the second one yet, but I've heard it's good. And I like Scarecrow, so I will.
They're the crows again. Slightly different crow, but you know. All right. So I don't forget one thing that I wanted to do, if I can figure this out, is put your Linktree link into the chat so everybody has access to your website and to your socials and to your books if someone is interested. Link is in the chat. If you watch on replay, it's in the description. I have the website of the link. Oh my god, the link of the website. In the description down below. So if you want to check out Chad's books, they are right there and easy accessible. I think Shades is going to be my next one based on what I've heard so far. Like that sounds. No, sorry, not Shades. Which one was the detective one? My goodness.
Jade.
Oh, I was right. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Whew. That's good.
Plus, it'd be the best one to lead into the copycat book that I'll write. Different
Perfect.
things, but there's still a detective thriller.
Perfect.
Billy D.
Okay.
Williams, that's it.
See, chat is always there for the rescue.
I kept wanting to say, I kept going to another name, and I knew it wasn't that.
Edward also started doing more comics, right? Edward, you started doing more comics on your side as well, so you two probably should connect on that side as well.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, I'm completely out of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting more into it as the years go by.
Yeah, I tried like I'm probably saying this wrong now. Manga, and I read one. I'm blanking on the name. It's like kind of a wooden guy living in the woods with a young girl, and he stole the girl. I don't know. It's multiple parts. It's drawn in black and white, and it was kind of fun. But I'm not getting into it. I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not my medium, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a different style.
Yeah, but listen, as long as you have fun reading them, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's the thing. As long as you're enjoying the book, it doesn't matter.
Right. Before I'm starting to slow down, is there anything else that we forgot to talk about? Anything else you'd like to mention?
I don't think so. I think you covered most of the stuff.
And on that note, thanks, Edward. Yes, that's exactly why I'm not getting into it. Awesome. Well, Chad, thank you so much for stopping by and talking about your book. Again, for everybody who's interested in a horror fairy tale retelling that is done incredibly well, go check out the description. Go check out his books. It's available on Kindle Unlimited and paperback and hardback, in a really cool hardback too, with more books from the author also available if you like them. Great backlog. Follow the author on said social media so you can see when the next mystery book is coming up. And thanks everyone in the chat for stopping by. I hope you had a good time. And anything else, Chat?
No, just thank you for having me, and thanks everybody for watching.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.